Hey YouTube, how you going? Thought I'd do another video update. It's been a week since my Ultramarathon and I've really wanted to get this video out there. I have managed to do a blog post earlier in the week. If you haven't had a chance, please check that out below. Provides a really comprehensive summary on how the race turned out for me and kind of what happened. But if you can't be bothered reading and just want the short, sharp version, just keep watching this video because that's pretty much what it's going to be about. For those of you who don't know, the Ultramarathon was the Gold Coast 100, obviously held on the Gold Coast in Australia. It was a 12.5k loop out, 12.5k backs, 25 kilometers total for each loop, and 4 loops to make up the 100. I chose this race because it was fairly standard. You didn't really have to worry too much about logistics. There was only 1 or 2 really small hills, so it was relatively flat, and it was all about getting the 100 kilometers in my legs. It wasn't really, it wasn't about a time or a place or anything silly like that, just merely doing the 100. If you've read my blog, you'll know it didn't turn out as planned, and yeah, I'll talk about this in the video. I mean, before I get into that though, I want to say that, I'm not one to make excuses. I don't like complaining. So what happened is what happened, and I'm not trying to use that as a justification for failing to make the 100, just kind of telling you how it is really. And I guess I view it that, just as anyone can have a bad day, whether it's a soccer player or a golfer or a car racer or whatever, maybe I just had a bad day running. Maybe there's something more to it in terms of my quad muscles, which I'm going to get into. But as yet, I haven't really put my finger on it, and neither is my coach. We're just kind of seeing how the next week or two goes in terms of recovery before we start worrying and thinking there may be something else wrong with them. So about 2 weeks before the race, I did have a cold. That affected my recovery. I found that it was taking a lot of effort out of me on 2 of the runs that I did on the Tuesday and Thursday, so I cut them short, so not to overexert myself because we're in the tapering period. And that, was obviously the right choice to make. Coming into the final week of training, I only had a hit out on the Tuesday and Thursday. Again, they were quite short runs, but I thought I was pretty much over my cold, to be honest, and felt quite good. Once I got those out of the way, physically and mentally, I felt prepared for the race. If you've seen one of my other videos that I did a video saying that, I went for a 10k run and really felt that, yes, what I was doing was the right thing. Doing this 100 kilometers, it had all come together, and I was really happy with how my training had been. As I said, I thought I had recovered from my cold, but even on rest days, I did have this, I guess the best way of describing it is like tightness or somewhat like a fatigued feeling in my quads. And in the morning it wasn't too bad, but as the day progressed they'd just get tighter and tighter. So I was doing, stretching and foam rolling and all the usual bits and pieces and thought that would help. Anyway, come race day, really looking forward to kind of getting underway really. It was meant to start at 6 a.m. Probably started about 10 minutes after that, so about 6:20 a.m. Had a 12-hour cutoff to complete the 100 kilometers, so I thought, that was achievable, and that was kind of my goal, to come in under 12 hours, complete the 100. Didn't really care about place or time other than just meeting that cutoff. And started out, as I said, 12.5k loop, 12.5k out, 12.5k back, so 25k loop. And the race was starting well. I was just hanging towards the back, and lucky enough to be next to another guy who was also competing in his first 100-kilometer ultra, although he had done a number of 50Ks before that. And the strange thing was, inside 15 kilometers, I did start to feel my quads becoming a little bit tight. Now, normally you would say that that's either because I was going out way too hard, but my pace was, was fine. I was probably averaging about 540 kilometers, or you would say that it was fatigue related, but it was very early on in the race. I'm talking under 15 kilometers, and I'd run numerous 40Ks in training, so I didn't think it certainly wasn't that. And obviously, as I mentioned before, I'd felt this feeling in my quads in the days leading up. The other reason why I don't think it was fatigue is because it was just my quads. It wasn't my hamstrings, it wasn't my calves. It was just one muscle group in my leg, not multiple. So anyway, 15 kilometers, started feeling a bit of tightness, but it was able to push through it. Completed the first 25 Ks in about 2 hours, 20 minutes. So I was happy with that. You know, I was on track to obviously break the 12 hours, even if I slowed down later on in the race, and started out for the next loop. By about 35 kilometers, I was in real trouble. Again, this was really surprising because I covered this distance so many times in training, it's not even funny. And really didn't, you know, I mean, it's an easy distance to cover without kind of, you know, talking myself up. But in my training, I had covered, you know, 30, 35, 40 kilometers numerous times and never felt anywhere near this bad. And obviously I've been resting in the week leading up, and yeah, it was just odd feeling, just my quads were just so tight. And anyway, I was fortunate enough that I was near this guy who'd also done his first ultra, and we'd kind of been back and forward a little bit. Like, I had walking breaks every 27 minutes, whereas he had, I think, a longer one after lap 1 or something. So he managed to catch up to me again when I was really struggling, even before the marathon mark, as I said, and he then paced me pretty much back to the 50 kilometer mark. So we stuck together, and his name was Jeff, and it was really helpful that he was there because I was in a bit of bad shape, you know, that early on. At the 50 kilometer mark, I was able to restock. I took on some more energy gels, took some salt pills, more water, just everything. I mean, I didn't think it was related to any of those things, and I'm certain now that it wasn't, but kind of in the heat of the moment, I was like, let's just knock out all the variables and make sure we've got all the bases ticked. So did that, and also picked up my iPod, which was, I planned to pick it up at 50 Ks because I knew from 50 to 100 would probably be the harder bit, and I thought the music could kind of take my mind off things. And started the third lap. I walked for about 10 minutes just to get past the hills, you know, just because I wasn't in great shape. I didn't want to burn myself out, and put the music on and was going pretty well. Got into a bit of a rhythm. I was running, feeling good again, but by 62.5, things did start to fall off again. It was just literally my quads were just so tight and really hurting me, and I was just slowing down way too much. My wife did try and massage them, and that brought a bit of life back into them at the turnaround, but I think it was just too much, and by the time I made it back to 75 Ks, I had under 3 hours left if I wanted to head out and try and do the last 25 in order to make the cutoff. And I think even on a good day, you know, I'd kind of budgeted in my mind I should have 3 hours in case I can't run the whole thing and have to walk. So, you know, and this wasn't a good day, so I was certain that I'd take, you know, more than the 2 hours, 45 minutes or whatever it was that I had, nearly 3 hours, somewhere around there, to complete the 100. And besides the time factor, my quads were just shot. And unfortunately, I had to pull the pin after completing 75 kilometers. It was an extremely hard decision to make because I really hate quitting. I've never quit in a race. I've never stopped in a race. I've never purposely, you know, like, I've never slowed down, you know, just to take a break. I always give it my all, even, you know, if I'm not feeling 100%, I always do my best. So it was really disappointing to have to pull out at that mark, and yeah, it kind of, I guess, put a bit of a dampener on things. But looking back on it, as people have said to me since then, you know, 75 Ks is 75 Ks, and that's the way I've got to look at it. So I am doing that, and I'm pleased that I covered the 75 and didn't quit at the 50. Sorry if you can hear the scratching in the background, it's just my dog's trying to get in. So yeah, pleased that I went for the 75. And really looking back on the day, I mean, there's nothing that I really think I could have done extra or differently. As I said, I didn't go out too hard. I was definitely sufficiently rested coming into it. It was just this issue with my quads. And the way I look at it, everything kind of happened about 25 kilometers early. You know, getting tightness in my quads at 15 Ks, well, fair, you know, maybe that should have happened at 40. Feeling like in a really bad way at 35, maybe that should have happened at like 60 or 65. And feeling like you couldn't go on anymore should have happened at 100 and not 75. So, I don't know, that's kind of how I see it. Everything kind of happened 25 kilometers early for whatever reason. Since then, I'm back in Sydney. I'm resting up. I did do some running last week, but still not 100% right in the quads. So we're just having another light week again. Hopefully, just with the rest and the stretching and everything and the massage, I can get on top of that. And then I'm going to give the 100 another crack sometime this year. So before the end of 2013, I want to tick off that 100 kilometer mark, and I've got my eye on a few other races, so we'll just have to see which one fits money-wise and logistically and everything like that. But anyway, guys, just wanted to give you a report on how the race went, let you know how I did. As I said, more detailed report in the link on my website, link below. But thanks again for everyone who commented on Facebook and you know, sent me emails. I got a few emails as well. So, look, thanks again, guys. Please rate, comment, subscribe. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll talk soon.